I'd like to welcome everyone to this hybrid meeting of the Ethics and Standards Committee, which is open to the press and public on request. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I have had no requests for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Please can members refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. And please remember to keep your microphone muted when you're not talking. May I remind members that as per statutory guidance made under Section 4 of the Welsh Government Wales Measure 2011 and our formally adopted hybrid meeting policy, any member attending a meeting remotely must be able to be seen and heard by the members and officers who are attending the meeting, as well as by the members of the public viewing the meeting. Therefore, can I ask that you all please keep your cameras on for the duration of the meeting. Moving on to the agenda item 1, welcome and apologies. Dominique, do we have any apologies, please?
Thank you, Chair. I've had apologies from Councillor Richard Clark. Okay, brilliant. And agenda item 2, quorum. Dalith Harries, Monitoring Officer and Assistant Chief Legal Officer. Please can you confirm if a quorum is present?
We are quorate, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item 3 is declarations of interest. Do any members have any interests to declare? I'm taking that as a no. Agenda item 4 is the minutes of the Ethics and Standards Committee held on the 5th of March 2024. Members, please could you state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, we'll take them as agreed. I have one minor correction, Dom, where it says about my declaration of interest. My son would be Pontypool United under 9s and no Hurricanes. So drop Hurricanes and just under 9s.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I can correct that for you.
Thank you. Agenda item 5, which is the minutes of the Ethics and Standards Committee held on the 22nd of May earlier this year. Members, could you please state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes, and if not, we will agree them. No? Brill. Agenda item 6, which is the minutes of the Ethics and Standards Committee held on the 26th of April 2024. Does anyone have anything to raise, or can we agree them? Great. Agenda item 7, update on actions. Members, could you please state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the action sheet? If not, we'll just note its contents. No? No. Agenda item 8, members' attendance. Dominique, could you present the report to us, please? And the recommendations, they're in front of you on page 24 as well.
Could I jump in before that? Because
yep.
Would we have to declare an interest because some of us are on that list for the attendance?
No, Councillor, there's no need to declare that.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So this is an annual report to this committee, which provides a summary of member attendance from May 2023 to May 2024. The details are set out in Appendix 1 to the report, which starts on page 25 of the agenda. Last year, the committee asked for information to be broken down into the number of meetings members were expected to attend and the number of meetings attended, and the number of committees that weren't able to discharge their functions due to being in quorum. So all of this information is broken down under individual committees in Appendix 1. So the recommendations start on page 24, which asks the committee to review the reported member attendance for May 2023 to May 2024.
I'll open it up. Does anyone have any comments before we look at the recommendation? Councillor Evans, go on.
Yeah, looking through the list myself, there is still some issues that need to be addressed with some of the leaders, because if you look at some of the figures of some members not attending when they should do, whatever excuse they got, I mean, there are still a few that need to be looked at. You know, I don't know what the answer is, but do we get in touch with the leaders again, or? But some of us attended quite a lot of meetings, and some of the members attended and hardly any. So.
No, I agree with that. Councillor Evans, any other comments from committee members? No, just want to say a quick thank you to the officers for factoring in our comments from last year. I think it's a much better format. I think the number of meetings held compared to how many councillors could have attended was really helpful and made it much more clear. And whether quorum was met. Obviously, I think the attendance at General Council is generally really good, but I do agree with Councillor Evans. I do think there are some issues around attendance of some of the committees, which are all obviously very important as part of the democratic process. So I think we will pick up an action, Dalith, around contacting the leaders around expectations of attendance, because obviously, especially with some of the committees that have small numbers, actually, if there is consistent non-attendance, that does actually impact on the effectiveness of the committee. So can we take that as an action, please?
Yes, and perhaps can I recommend then perhaps and I'm happy to draft an email for you to approve, Roger, that that it comes from yourself as chair of the committee to the leaders of the groups. Thank you.
That's great. If there's no other comments, can I just check that members agree the recommendation of the report? Oh, sorry, Mark.
Yeah, so sorry, Rodri. Just before we approve this, with the comments that you've made and Councillor Evans made, and I completely agree with that. I fully appreciate that this is part of our statutory duty. Part of the core part of our committee is to monitor all of this. As there's probably some Welsh Government regulation to deal with it. This is just a question for perhaps Dominique or Dalith would know. Is there any way that of monitoring attendance that lay members like myself, like Joanna, Rodri, attending their meetings, and also the lay members of governance and audit? I wondered if there was any record kept, any public record to show that we were doing our job properly, so to speak. Thank you.
Dallas, want to pick that up?
Perhaps Dom can correct me. I think the Democratic Services Committee do monitor attendance of all lay members, and that includes co-optees of all the committee meetings, because there is something in the Constitution which states that if the co-optees fail to attend so many meetings in a row, they could be disqualified from actually attending the committee.
That's great. Thanks, Dallas. That's a very good point, Mark, especially given our the need for quorum and for certain meetings to have at least parity with the independent members compared to the councillors. So I think that's a very valid point. Yeah, go on, Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, sort of in relation to attendance and things, I fully take on board what Steve has said about contacting leaders, but is there any sort of support network in place for councillors who are struggling to attend meetings? So, it could be a health issue, because technically the council is their employer, so there should be some sort of HR-related way forward.
It's something we can check, really. I'm sure where there's a valid reason, there's leniency, obviously, where members can't attend, for example, they may have a long-term illness or something like that, really, and there is a provision in the code that for example, they could be prevented from being disqualified if the council agrees in advance that their non-attendance can continue. But in terms of a support network, I'd have to check that, really.
Okay, yes, I think that's something we could look at, and I just wonder if it's part of a reminder when we actually contact the councillors about raising those issues, so things can be put in place to address that. Any other comments? No? Okay. Can members just confirm that they agree the recommendation within the report? I'm not seeing any. Yep, perfect. That's great. We'll move on to agenda item 9 then, which is the programme of work. Delith, could you present the report to us, please? For note, the recommendations start on page 47 of the papers.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, you'll see at Appendix 1, which is page 49, the programme of work, which you have at every committee meeting. If I go through it, then each point. The whistleblowing policy, you'll see, was updated last year by yourselves, and it was agreed by yourselves. With regard to training for members in the Code of Conduct, members, following your recommendation, actually, will receive refresher training on the Code of Conduct in October this year, and there are 2 sessions arranged, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, to make sure that as many members can attend as possible. Standards conference, well, the last one was February 2022. At the moment, I haven't. I think it was mentioned at one of the agendas from the Monitoring Officers Group meeting that we'd have another one in the South East Wales possibly, but I haven't had any updates yet. But I will keep members informed should we have a date for another standards conference. You'll see then that the annual report that will be presented to Council actually next week, and the Chair will be presenting that report to Council. And then you'll see as well, which today you've just had the report on monitoring the attendance of members of the committees, and that's today. So if any, it's up to the committee whether you wish to comment on that work programme. Thank you, Chair.
Any comments from committee members? Go on, Councillor Evans.
Going back to the last part, which I said about members' attendance, are we keeping a close record of the members attending to do the development and training? Because if they're not turning up to very many meetings, will it affect them turning up to this training?
Yes, Councillor Evans, there is a record kept of training by members, because it is important that, so for example, if hopefully that doesn't arise, that there's a complaint to the Ombudsman is always asked the question whether a member has received training on the Code of Conduct. So it is important that the members attend, and we do keep a record of it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, that's great. Well, just again, just welcome the fact that obviously we've put it into place the refresher training, having listened to the conversations of the committee previously. So thank you for that. Can I just confirm that members agreed the recommendation of the report? Yep, perfect. Thank you very much. Agenda item 10, which is dispensations in respect to the members' small schemes. Delith, can I ask you to present this again? And the recommendations are on page 52.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the purpose of this report is to inform members of the applications for dispensation made by councillors to award monies out of the members' small schemes to their chosen charities, clubs or organisations as allowed under that scheme. Each elected member has the sum of £1,500 per annum to allocate as he or she thinks fit. So the recommendation here is that you consider the applications for the small scheme dispensations as set out in Appendix 1 to the report, and there are 2 to consider. And if I can hand it back to you, Chair, to deal with those. Thank you.
Before we go on,
Councillor Bird?
just got to check. Do I need to declare a declaration of interest because I'm on Cumbrian Community Council with Councillor Sue Morgan? And school governors and various other things.
No, if that is how you know Councillor Sue Morgan, that's in a professional capacity, it's not a personal interest. Thank you, but thank you for raising it.
Oh, that's great, thank you. There's only 2. The first one is Councillor Sue Morgan, Bridge 46 to 5 Lots Canal Group. It's £100. She's a volunteer who helps the group, and the money will help volunteers do work along the canal. Any issues? No? Brilliant. And the second one is Councillor Alfie Best. The organisation is Pont Newydd Community Association. The presidential interest is Alfie is treasurer of the association. It's £200 to help the work of the association. Yep, go on.
Okay.
Councillor Bird?
Yeah, Councillor Alfie Best is Councillor for Pont Newydd. I just wanted to check that was the right organisation listed.
Yeah, probably.
So.
Thank you. I was going to read that.
Yeah. But if it is either way, I have no objections to it. But
Yeah, you're right. It is Pont Newydd for Alfie, for Councillor Best.
yeah, he's Councillor Pont Newydd, not Pont.
Yeah.
What you would, yeah, okay, we'll get it corrected on the list.
But just double check with him, it's the right group.
In terms of dealing with the dispensation in terms of this meeting now, I'm looking to you, Della, but the principle to the committee is it's whether it's Pont Newydd or Pont Newydd, it's whether there's a prejudicial, it's whether there's an issue around that. Regardless whether it's Pont Newydd or Pont Newydd Community Association, would anyone raise an issue with that application? No. We'll say we've agreed it, but if we could just double check and clarify and just get that corrected in the papers, that'd be brilliant. Thank you. So we've agreed both of them. So if we can move on to agenda item 11, which is exclusion of the press and public. Members of the press and public are excluded under paragraph 12 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, as the report contains information identifying individuals which should not be made available at this stage, as it would have a detrimental effect on the fairness of the hearing of the complaint if the press and public gave views on the allegations in advance of the hearing, the result of which is required under the protocol to be reported to full council at a later date, so that the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs that in disclosing the information. So we'll close the meeting, the public part of the meeting then, now, and we will discuss the next agenda items.